Before streaming, the TV movie was a cinematic proving ground. These small-screen productions launched legends and delivered stone-cold classics. Here are 11 films that earned their place in history. In the 1980s, corporate raiders were treated like rock stars, and this is the story of their Woodstock, a three-ring circus of greed, ego, and Oreo cookies. The masterstroke here is how a dense book on a leveraged buyout gets flipped into a razor-sharp black comedy. Forget the spreadsheets. What matters are the absurd personalities driving it all. At the center, James Garner as F. Ross Johnson. Not a titan, not a shark, just a charming, glad-handing buffoon.
Tastes like shit and smells like a fart. We got ourselves a real winner here. It's one goddamn unique advertising slogan, I'll give you that.
Completely out of his depth once the real killers close in. Watching it, you can feel the shift. This was the moment HBO proved it could make originals smarter, sharper, and flat-out funnier than network TV ever dared. It's the most wickedly entertaining business lesson you'll ever get, and a snapshot of the exact moment corporate greed turned into a blood sport. In a city full of liars and bureaucrats, the only person telling the truth was a rumpled reporter in a seersucker suit, and his truth involved a vampire loose in Las Vegas. What you're watching feels like two different films stitched together. One minute, you're in a gritty detective procedural, all shoe leather reporting and smoke-filled rooms. Then, the supernatural hits, and the only thing holding it all together is Carl Kolchak. You quickly realize he isn't a brave hero. He's an abrasive, stubborn pain in the neck, and Darren McGavin's cynical charm is perfect for the role. As you watch him battle authorities who refuse to listen, you see the entire blueprint for the X-Files being born. The lone investigator versus official denial laid out for the first time. It all adds up to a simple fact. You're watching one of the greatest made-for-TV horror films in history. Rayne Murphy was serving life without parole in Folsom Prison, but he found a way to escape, one agonizing 4-minute mile at a time. You're dropped directly into the unfiltered reality of Folsom Prison, because that's exactly where they filmed it. You feel the authenticity in every frame. The background faces aren't extras, they're inmates, and that raw tension is impossible to fake. Then you see the guy at the center of it all, Peter Strauss, pushing his body to its absolute limit. His physical transformation for the role is staggering, earning his character's redemption with pure, visceral effort. In this performance and this setting, you are witnessing the blueprint for Michael Mann's entire career, that obsession with process and stoic professionalism, all forged in the yard of a maximum security prison. This is the raw, unfiltered essence of Michael Mann, a hard-as-nails character study that hits like a punch to the gut. This is the film that proved the movie of the week could be a genuine force for social change. You need to understand that some TV movies were more than just stories. They were national events. This was one of them. You didn't just casually watch The Burning Bed. It felt like assigned viewing. You can see the strategy. Take Farrah Fawcett, a face recognized globally for glamour, and put her at the center of something unbelievably brutal. You watch her give a performance that isn't just acting. It's a complete demolition of her own iconic image to expose a hidden, ugly truth. You realize its controversial, harrowing nature was the entire point. You were witnessing a film engineered to be inescapable, designed to dominate the conversation the next day. It dragged the conversation about domestic violence into the mainstream like nothing before it. Her life spanned 110 years, from the chains of slavery to the dawn of the civil rights movement, all leading to a single, defiant sip of water. Picture the television landscape in 1974. It's all cop shows and sitcoms. Then a film like this airs, and it's a genuine event. You're watching an epic historical saga unfold, with a dignity and scale the medium had rarely seen. At the heart of it is Cicely Tyson, and you witness a performance that is a complete transformation. She embodies Jane Pittman, capturing a century of pain and resilience in her voice and in her posture. Then you see the groundbreaking makeup by Stan Winston and Rick Baker, and you realize it's no gimmick, it's a narrative tool that lets you see the physical weight of history on her face. This is essential viewing, anchored by a legendary performance from Cicely Tyson that is nothing short of a national treasure. In 1984, the BBC didn't just make a movie about nuclear war, they ran a horrifyingly detailed simulation of the bombs falling on Sheffield. You go in expecting the usual disaster movie tropes, a hero to root for, a sentimental subplot, a glimmer of hope. Threads gives you none of that. It actively refuses to be a movie. Instead, what you witness feels like a scientific report, presenting the people of Sheffield as a dataset in a case study on total collapse. You notice the sound isn't a score meant to make you cry, but a cold electronic pulse designed to unsettle. You see every thread of society, government, medicine, communication, snap one by one, all documented with a chillingly detached narration. You realize you're not watching a story, you're watching a forecast. It's not a film you'll ever want to watch twice, but it is one you absolutely have to see once. On November 20th, 1983, 100 million people stopped what they were doing, sat down in their living rooms, and watched the world end. So while the BBC gave you the cold, clinical autopsy with threads, America got the primetime event. You weren't just watching a film, you were part of a national broadcast so significant, it had hotlines and post-show debates with figures like Carl Sagan. Then the movie hits you with something television had never dared show before. The infamous X-ray shots of skeletons being vaporized. A graphic, visceral horror designed for the mainstream. And unlike its British counterpart, this one reached the very top. Ronald Reagan saw it. He was profoundly disturbed, and this single TV movie is credited with helping soften his nuclear policy. This isn't a film you enjoy, it's a harrowing piece of history. You experience to understand what the world was terrified of. Some monsters are just creatures, but the worst ones are performers. And this one was a master of the stage, who fed on fear and offered you a balloon. You can see how they managed to wrestle Stephen King's massive novel onto network television. They grounded the cosmic horror and focused entirely on the kids. You're immediately drawn into the Losers Club, not as a group of actors, but as a real gang of outcasts whose camaraderie feels completely authentic. Then you meet him. You witness Tim Curry, who famously isolated himself from the young cast, craft a Pennywise who is part greasy vaudeville clown, part dead-eyed predator. It's the genuine warmth of the children set against the calculated menace of Curry that makes the whole thing click so perfectly. Forget the new films. Watch this for Tim Curry's iconic lightning-in-a-bottle performance that defined nightmare fuel for an entire generation. In Salem's Lot, evil doesn't kick down your door. It whispers your name from the fog and scratches politely at the glass. You can feel Tobe Hooper's grimy Texas Chainsaw fingerprints all over this. You're not watching a gothic romance. You're watching a small town slowly succumb to a disease. The source of this plague isn't some eloquent, charming count. You see their master vampire, Barlow, and he's a silent, monstrous creature straight out of Nosferatu. Less a character and more a walking infection spreading through the community. That's when the true dread kicks in, as you witness the idea that would define small-town horror. The real monster is the familiar face of your neighbor, now hollowed out and hungry, floating outside your window. This is pure, slow-burn dread that proves the most terrifying monsters are the ones sleeping next door. It's the story of two rivals in the brutal world of the NFL, whose greatest battle wasn't on the field, but in a hospital room. You go in expecting a standard sports movie, but what you get is one of the most honest portrayals of male friendship ever put on television. You're watching James Caan and Billy D. Williams, and their chemistry feels completely real. It's not just acting. For 1971, you see a deep, loving bond between a black man and a white man, presented without sensationalism, a quietly radical act for prime time. You witness the macho world of professional football get stripped away, leaving you with something far more powerful. A story about loyalty, love, and facing the unthinkable with the one person you can truly count on. It's the film that proved a sports story could break your heart in all the right ways. This is what happens when a minor annoyance on the motorway escalates into a full-blown, primal war for survival. You're watching a 24-year-old Steven Spielberg, years before Jaws, rehearsing his craft with almost no budget and even less dialogue. You feel every gear shift, every desperate glance into the rearview mirror as an ordinary business trip unravels into a nightmare. The genius of the film is that you never see the other driver. Your enemy isn't a person. It's a monolithic, faceless rig of rusted metal and diesel fumes, an ancient beast hunting you on the asphalt. You witness a civilized modern man get systematically broken down, forced to tap into something primal just to make it to the next petrol station. It's a masterclass in turning the simplest premise into pure, nerve-shredding cinema. It's 90 minutes of the most distilled, high-octane suspense ever put on film. We're here for the classics that get forgotten. Hit subscribe and join the Vintage Verse Club. See you next time.